Yeah, so there's certainly countries all over the world that are taking a different look at cryptocurrency. My general view of it is that most places in the free world, they are adopting this technology. They might want to, they rightfully want to protect consumers as it's being adopted, and introducing thoughtful regulation is a piece of that. But they're certainly not anti-crypto. In fact, the opposite. There's many jurisdictions around the world that are seeking out crypto companies like Coinbase. We're receiving pitches, where can we build our next office around the world, because they recognize that this technology is a way to stay on the forefront of both finance and tech. Now, there are going to be some countries in the world, just like the internet, where it's restricted or it's filtered. And I think crypto is going to end up following a similar path to the internet in that regard. How China has the Great Firewall of China, or North Korea has a private internet, right? So I think there could end up being countries like that, and the citizens there will actually use VPNs and things like that to try to bypass those restrictions to get access to cryptocurrency.
Anyone else? Go ahead.
There's been countries like Argentina. There's been countries like Argentina or Venezuela where crypto just became the de facto, currency and have saved the economy. Why do you think it's so hard for some other countries to just realize the usefulness of that?
Right. So I think there are certainly countries going through economic crisis, and I think there's pockets of people in those areas that are getting interested in cryptocurrency. I don't want to say that it's saved those countries. That might be an exaggeration at this stage. But I think there is certainly interest amongst those people in having stable currency where they have the highest pain point, right? And it's really terrible to see what's happening in places like Venezuela. So, one effort that I've started on the side is a nonprofit called GiveCrypto.org, and what we're doing is trying to make small payments out to people in the world who are going through economic crisis. Crypto is a very good way to get real-time small amounts of payments to people directly in their hand, so there's not an intermediary, and then helping them exchange it to local currency if they need to, or do crypto-to-crypto transactions to buy whatever they need, I think is a really important use case. So I'm bullish on that in the next, say, 3 to 5 years. I think you will see countries going through economic crisis where everybody has a smartphone and the internet now. You could see people organically adopting crypto as an alternative.
Go ahead.
I feel like a lot of the crypto chat is always about kind of buying and selling. Can you give us a sense in America of real life, like I'm paying for bread? What adoption rate is that? And is it in certain major cities, or who's doing that? Because I don't feel like I see that a lot.
Yeah. So you're absolutely right that the vast majority of usage today of crypto is in the investment phase, right? It's people buying and selling it, trading it, speculating. And in the US, I would say that's probably 90% of activity, by the way, investment. Let's call it roughly 10% of it to be real world usage. And people are not using it necessarily in, call it brick and mortar stores or like at Starbucks or something like that. They're using it more like online. So the early use cases are things like online crowdfunding. There's people who are creating a bunch of games. There's people creating new user-generated content sites, kind of like Reddit, Twitter, Facebook equivalents, where instead of an upvote or a like button, you actually transmit a small amount of value. So people who are creating content that's useful to others, they're actually earning money on this universal currency of the internet. So those are the kinds of use cases, along with the emerging market things that I talked about, that I think will take off first. And it's going to be people who have the highest pain point. And I think it'll be quite some time before you cross the street and go to Starbucks in the US and pay with crypto, just because that the financial system in the US works pretty well for most consumers. There's a higher pain point in other areas.
What is next for crypto? And then let's separate crypto and blockchain.
Yeah.
Because they're two very different things with different potentials. And some people say they don't see the potential in crypto, but they see the potential for the blockchain. Mm-hmm. What do you see?
Okay, so first of all, more of like a one-on-one answer. So for anybody who doesn't know, cryptocurrency is like digital money, so people transfer it around to transfer value. Blockchain is kind of a broader concept than that, and it's the technology underpinning cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin. But it can be also used for other things like private blockchains, like a consortium of banks might come together as an alternative to SWIFT, which is like a global settlement network between banks. People are using blockchain for other kind of more theoretical things right now, like governance or identity. But my rough assessment of it is that cryptocurrencies, meaning like the public blockchains, are where we're going to see a lot of the innovation, or more of the innovation. Just like when the internet came out, there was like public internet, which is where most of the innovation happened, and then there was private internets or intranets, and some companies use those and whatnot, but most of the innovation was in the public internet. So I think the same thing will happen with crypto.
So is blockchain going to change the internet as we know it? Or is the internet simply going to evolve?
It is going to change the internet. I mean, the internet, when it was created, there was a couple original sins, if you will. Like if you talk to Mark Andreessen, who created the first web browser, what he says is that they made a few mistakes. So one was they didn't build privacy into the internet as a base level thing. The other one was they didn't make payments native to the internet. And now, years later, this got invented. So the internet, which is inherently global and decentralized, and no country or company owns it, now has a currency that is also global, decentralized, and no country or company owns it. That's hugely powerful. Because previously, the internet was mostly about transferring information. Now you can do information and value.